Hi everyone, welcome to week 10. This week we'll be discussing teaching and researching with place. So we'll be reading Fikile Numalo's article called Towards Refiguring Presences as an Anti-Colonial Orientation to Research in Early Childhood Studies, and Wanda May's article called Curriculum as Lingering. By Saturday at 11:55 p.m., post a link to Portfolio Entry 8, and by Sunday at 11:55 p.m., participate in your group's 1-hour virtual collaboratory and respond to one other Portfolio 8 entry. So when we're thinking about research, the arts, and pedagogies of place, we can first think about what is meant by place, as it's something more than location in this article. So Tuck and Mackenzie conceptualize place not as, quote, merely a neutral backdrop, a bounded and antiquated concept, or only a physical landscape, but rather as a series or phenomena that are mobile, shifting over time and space through interactions with flows of people, other species, and social practices. They go on to suggest that being critically informed by the place we're engaging with requires us to pay attention to spatialized processes of settler colonialism and extend beyond considerations of the isolated individual to more deeply consider the land, materials, more than human others, and their characteristics as they determine and manifest place. Through walking and noticing the materials in these places and animals, we may reorient ourselves within the settler colonial state by considering that human understanding is not separate from the material discursive happenings of this place in which we're situated, but rather is co-composed within interactions of human and more than human agents. And in a moment, I'll speak more to material discursivity. So in this course, we've been centering phenomenological orientations to research and pedagogy to help us orient ourselves to the livedness of experience. And through artography, we've discussed how this might be enacted through the arts. And Maxine Green writes that the arts enable our full engagement in and of the world, allowing us to attend or be open to others and possibilities. In embodying an embodied mode of paying attention to our attentioned implications as students and educators on Indigenous land, we can think with the arts of noticing as an entry point to story and re-story place, attending to the places as they're imbued with past present histories and to materials which tell contested stories of Indigenous and settler presences. So in Numalo's article this week, she speaks about refiguring presences. And I think you might notice some parallels between this article and some of the previous work that we've read, especially when she speaks about creating stutters. So creating stutters in the innocence of children's place encounters and refiguring presences as a way to, quote, creatively grapple with, interruptively respond to, as well as work through the doubts, complicated frictions, discomforts, knots, and silences that moments, such as the examples that she gave in her article, open up and sort of throw up in research and practice. So following Numalo, how might we think with living inquiry and the methodological and pedagogical orientations we've been thinking within this course in seeking ways to make sense of and respond to these everyday encounters in the midst of their tensions, ambiguities, and contradictory natures of place and material? So in this way, we're sort of thinking about methods and pedagogical orientations which might implicate us not as separate from or innocent, but rather where pedagogies and methods live in difficult and provocative spaces and sort of, as Donna Haraway would say, stay with the trouble of these tensions to sort of attend to the generative possibilities of what Numalo calls holding incompatible things together. And this does not mean gathering and writing of moments that serve a preconceived narrative of how we believe things should be, or illuminating illuminating moments that only tell a single story. And I think this is a tricky part of thinking with theme, is that sometimes we're driven toward a single story. So something to consider is, how do we think with theme while also gathering multiple perspectives? Attending to the histories of settler colonialism in Canada, as they tell us contradictory stories of Indigenous presences and settler colonial structures that overlap and sort of pull together apart ways of being and their effects. So drawing on our readings in artography, we might see these intersections and liminal spaces as sites of intense possibility.